Tonight, we're mocking the mock draft. We're going to look at the Draft Wire's Jeff Risdon's most recent mock draft. Hey guys, I'm Joshua Klein, your host of the Draft Beard podcast. Tonight, we're going to do a live reaction to a recent mock draft that's out there. There are a lot of mock drafts on all kinds of different websites, a lot of media personalities doing mock drafts all the time, as we are just a month away from the NFL draft. So tonight, we're going to look at the Draft Wire's Jeff Risdon and his latest mock draft. Jeff Risson is one of my go-to guys for all things NFL and NFL draft. If you do not have him a follow on Twitter or Blue Sky, you definitely need to follow him. He is a fantastic resource of information, gives a lot of great inside information on the NFL throughout the season. He's a really good draft guru. If you don't follow him, you need to give him a follow. I really respect his opinion. He's one of the guys that's kind of motivated me to do this. I really enjoy listening to Jeff, and he's on the Detroit Lions podcast. So if you want to check that out, I'm giving Jeff all the plugs he needs here. You can follow him at Twitter at Jeff Risdon on X. He's also on Blue Sky at jeffriz.bsky.social. He is a really knowledgeable guy. Last year he was had Jaden Daniels far and away ahead on his QB1. I really respect his evaluation on players. So give him a check out. That's why I wanted to get started and do a mock and get started with Jeff Risdon of the Draft Wire. And with that, we're going to get going right away. Just kind of give a live reaction. I have not looked at this. Oh, great. He did 2 rounds. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through all 2 rounds of this, but we'll have some fun with it. Get a reaction. You guys in the comments, leave your reactions, what you think of Jeff Risdon's mock draft. So here we go. You can catch him out on the Draft Wire. So not surprising. He sees Cam Ward as the QB of Miami, Florida as the first pick in the draft. I think that's pretty much going to be a foregone conclusion at this point. The next pick is the Cleveland Browns. Same way I had it in my most recent mock draft. And then passing on Shedeur Sanders and going with Abdul Carter. Now, the interesting thing here is, where did Jeff see the New York Giants going with Shedeur Sanders? Okay. So it looks like he has a lot of confidence in that pick. Okay, so he doesn't see the Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston signings as deterring the New York Giants from taking a Shedeur Sanders. I mean, yeah, the Giants do need a quarterback. I think that's pretty apparent. Is Russell Wilson the long-term answer? No, but you got Dayball and crew fighting for their jobs. So let's see at pick 4, we got the New England Patriots. The Patriots staying put. I don't know if he does trades in this. He's got taking wide receiver, cornerback Travis Hunter. Again, he's a one-of-one type player. Pick 5 here. I really think that Mason Graham is just a absolute steal and a fit for the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5. That's who I've been going with. I see a lot of mocks, the vast majority of them going with Mason Graham. That's kind of fun to see them go in a little bit of a different direction. Let's kind of see where, I don't know. He's feel good about the 4 players above. All right, let's see here. Surprised he didn't have Mason Graham going there, but you know, it's fun when we do these mock drafts. You know, this draft is going to be fun. You really don't have a clue outside of the top 3 or 4 where things could shake out, you know, so it's going to be fun. So Jeff doesn't think that Mason Graham is seen the same way that I do. Interesting. All right. Las Vegas, I think that's an easy selection there. I think that's a pretty easy mock to make with Ashton Genty. I think if they don't go with Genty there, Tate McMillan, Mason Graham would be a great spot there. They could use some help next to Christian Wilkins there. Tet going to the Jets. I could see them going on the offensive line with Membu here. I'm really high on Membu. He's my tackle 1 in this draft. I don't know. Aaron Glenn wants to go with the offense here. They really need a quarterback. I can see they really need to protect the quarterback there. They really do need some help at the offensive line. Oh, Okay. Well, we got our first shocker here, folks. Looking at pick 8, the Carolina Panthers. All right, Jeff. Well, that's interesting. I don't think I've seen a single mock draft with Emeka Ibuka going that high. I like him. High ceiling, high floor. I have him as my wide receiver 3 in this class. No, sorry, wide receiver 2. I have him just ahead of Trey Harris and behind Ted McMillan. He does have a high ceiling. I'd really love to see Emeka fall like he did in my latest draft and pair him back with CJ Stroud. I think it'd get a lot of fun. But all right, I know Carolina needs a wide receiver help. They definitely still use some defensive line help and edge all over that defense. They need some help. I don't think they need help at running back, maybe a little bit in the offensive line, but that's an interesting scenario here. They really haven't done anything to address that receiver room in free agency, but that's a shocker. We got Mason Graham still falling here. The Saints picking Michael Williams. That's exactly who I had the Saints picking in my latest mock draft. I'm not as high on Michael as a lot of people. I have him down my edge board. He's still in my top 10, but I have him towards the latter half of that top 10. Pick 10. Oh, yay. Thanks, Jeff. So obviously I'm a Lions fan. I'm a Detroit guy. I would be floored to see Mason Graham fall to the Chicago Bears. That would be an absolute steal for Chicago in improving what has been on paper a pretty good offseason for them. I can't see him picking a running back here if Genty is off the board. I think they just go with best player available. I still think there are 4 blue chip players in this draft. Mason Graham I think is one of them. Yeah, that's a shocker. All right, San Francisco. Okay. I like him. I have a second round grade on Nick Emanwari. I have had some fun with some mock drafts and then going as high as I think 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. I think San Francisco's bigger needs are on the interior of the defensive line, maybe corner, edge. I would be surprised if they did go with a Nick Emanwari over Malachi Starks if they're going to go secondary there. I could see Will Johnson being a better fit than Nick Emanwari, but so Jeff's got a couple surprises here with Graham falling, Ibuka going higher, Emanwari that's a little high. Let's see what we got here with Dallas. Okay, that's a great pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I could see that definitely being the pick. I could see maybe a Malachi Starks. Edge rusher would be in play here as well. Jihad Campbell, I've mocked him quite often, but I could see Will Johnson being a pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that'd be a really good pick. All right, pick 13. We got some offensive linemen falling here. Armand Membu. I think Kelvin Banks is still on the board here. This is a home run pick for the Miami Dolphins. They really need help on the offensive line. So if Armand Membu starts to fall here, I think that's a really good pick. He's one of my favorite players in this draft class. He's just a beast. Indianapolis, he's got Tyler Warren. That's an easy one. I think I had messed around with a little bit in my last mock draft. Had Jihadi Barron. I've had them picking Tyler Warren quite often. Sometimes it's good when you're doing mock drafts to do something different quite often than what the consensus is doing. Don't get yourself pigeonholed if you're doing mock drafts because anything can happen, right? Trades are going to happen. People are going to move up. Obviously, with this draft, I think those draft boards from team to team are going to be all over the place. A lot of different viewpoints on a lot of different players. And there's just so many players with the same sort or similar grades just jam-packed together in that mid to late first round, all the way maybe even into the third round. All right, so we got Indianapolis at pick 14. Next, Atlanta. That is an easy pick. I think Jalen Walker is just tailor-made for Atlanta. I think that's a great pick. There, I completely agree with Jeff on that one. All right, who we got? Pick 15 is the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, they do need some offensive line help. I think the interior of their defensive line is a little bit more pressing of a need and help along the defense. Can't nitpick this one too much. Other than just the injury concerns, I think I would see a Kelvin Banks higher, but that's just me, especially with the injury concerns and some of the off field and attitude things we've heard about Simmons. So 17, Mike Green, like they need help on that defense so bad, whether it's safety, whether it's interior of the defensive line. I've mocked him a lot of interior defensive linemen. Mike Green is a great pick there at 17 to Cincinnati. He is my edge number 2 in this draft class behind obviously Abdul Carter. All right, so we got 17, we got 18. Ooh, the Seattle Seahawks. They don't pick out interior offensive line in the first round. It's not been their mantra. I definitely could see a Colson Loveland here. Any of the wide receivers sitting here, like Matthew Golden, I think he could be in play here. But they still need some help on edge. I don't think it's a pressing a need as others. It's just going to depend on what does the NFL view James Pierce. He's a speed guy. He's a little raw. I mean, I like him. I just don't know, what is he really worth a first round grade? I have him as a second round grade. Really liked him going into the season. I just think the edge class is just so deep this year. James kind of fits in that middle tier of that first, second round players. So he has James Pierce going here. I have mocked edges a few times to the Seattle Seahawks. All right, pick 9 is going to be Tampa Bay. Yeah, if it's not Dallas, I think the floor, the absolute max that he's going to fall is 19. I don't see Jihad Campbell getting past the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if he's there at all. I think there's two teams. I just see home run picks. Dallas, Tampa Bay, pretty much every mock draft I do, it's one of those two spots where I see Jihad Campbell going. All right, pick 20, Denver. It's great idea. I think it fits. Do they draft a running back this high when there's so many? I find it difficult to find a spot for Omarion Hampton. I think he's going to go first round. I really do. I think there's at least going to be two. If the over under is 1.5, take the over. If you're betting, I don't know if there is a line like that. I think there's going to be two running backs. Whether Travion Henderson, someone grabs him in this first round, I do think Omarion Hampton's going to go. I just have a hard time like picking a team that's going to pick him, right? Teams that need running backs. So Jeff here has Omarion going to the Denver Broncos. I think that's still a great fit. I really like Omarion Hampton. I do have a first round grade on him. I have two running backs this year with first round grades. Pick 21, Pittsburgh. Another guy I absolutely love. I mean, it is very rare to see a guy that is that big that can move like Kenneth Grant can. That is just a guy who screams raw potential. Obviously, Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. Shador didn't fall. They didn't take Jackson Dart, so they go with Kenneth Grant. Again, he's a guy I've seen mock drafts taking him in the top 10. I know that I think Sam Monson's really high on Kenneth Grant. I've seen him fall all the way into the second round. So I do like the player. He's got some potential. Is he just going to be an athletic run stuffer? Can he get some pass rush to him? But Pittsburgh taking Kenneth Grant, pairing him with Keanu Benton, that's some good stuff there. Now pick 22, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers, and they take one of my guys here, Shamar Stewart. Guy I really like. I think he has a lot of potential. He's not as ready as a lot of people, think he is based on his athletic testing, but that's a good spot there. Shamar Stewart to be able to play the edge. The Chargers really need some help on that defensive line. I think having Shamar Stewart behind Khalil Mack for a year, kind of working him in, that's a great pick there. A great coach to do that as well. Green Bay, Nick Scorton. Okay, fits more of that profile size-wise that Green Bay likes. Maybe look at Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, those type of guys. I know that Jeff's personal opinion, if Nick Scorton is not a first-round guy, which is why I like his mock drafts, he doesn't come at it necessarily from his own personal opinion. I think I heard him say that he has Scorton seen more as a third-round graded guy. But I can see Green Bay doing this. This is what they do. Last mock draft I did, I had him taking Donovan Ezeraku. I know he doesn't fit their player profile to a T, but that is, I just thought, hey, maybe the Green Bay this year would go for a little bit more true pass rush guy in Donovan Ezeraku. So at 24, Minnesota, Malachi Starks. I mean, if they don't trade out, that is an obvious pick. Harrison Smith is not going to be there forever. I think he is a great fit for Minnesota. One of those teams, if you're looking for player and picking 3 to 4 teams that would be perfect fits, Minnesota and Malachi Starks makes a lot of sense. I think Miami makes a lot of sense. Houston picking up Luther Burden. Obviously, Emeka Ibuka is gone. Did Matthew Golden go? I don't remember seeing that in here. No, Matthew Golden is still on the board here. I'd probably lean more Matthew Golden over Luther Burden. I'm not like super high on Luther. I see the potential as that Percy Harvin type player. I just think you have to manufacture touches for him. I know he the thing is with his size, he is really good at contested catches. I just look at his route tree. Is it is it worth a first round pick? I don't know. I like him, but then at times I don't like him. So I'm not as high on Luther Burden. He's kind of one of my overvalued guys, and maybe I'm overthinking it. That's fine. That's why this is a fun exercise. That's why there's a lot of people out here commenting on their draft takes. And one of my draft takes is I'm not a first round guy on Luther Burden, but I think he'd be a really good pairing there with CJ Stroud. All right, pick 26. We've got the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, I like that. They need some cornerback help. They really desperately need linebacker help. I've mocked linebacker a few times to Los Angeles. I've mocked corners. I've done Trey Amos. I've done a couple other guys. Siobhan Ravel. If he wouldn't have gotten hurt, man, he is a beast. He is just an aggressive corner. Like him a lot. He's got really a lot of speed, a lot of length. So I could see that happening. Baltimore getting Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas. They do need some help on the offensive line. I mean, the Ravens just know how to do it right. They always find really good players and gems. So I think that's a good pick there by Jeff. All right. And Detroit goes with Derek Harmon, defensive tackle. So let's see who is available here. I think you had players like Donovan Azaraku was available. I see Jahade Barron go. I don't think did he. Let's look. I really like him. I think he's Brian Branch 2.0. I know that the Lions don't have that big of a need in the secondary in terms of corners. They really do have a sneaky need at safety behind maybe the best duo of safeties in the NFL. So, if a Malachi Starks falls there, I know Lions fans are probably crap their diaper a little bit there. But I could see a Malachi Starks if he fell there. I wouldn't be surprised if best player available. I really like Derek Harmon. That gets him someone to pair next to Aleem McNeil, some pass rush there. He's on one of the, he's on my list of guys I would be okay if the Lions took in that spot. 29, there's Jahade Barron. Yeah, I think Jahade is probably a guy. I don't know if he falls this far. Then again, maybe it happens again to a versatile corner. I've had him go in the 11 range, 12. I think is the highest I've had him. Dallas. I think one time in one of my mocks, I picked Jahade, go to Dallas. I've had him to go to Indianapolis. I think he's a guy who might even go higher than that. Really, a really good versatile player. So Jahade Barron, Washington gets some really good value there at corner. And at pick 30, Buffalo is on the clock in just draft here. Yep, seen this one. I really like Trey Amos. He is one of my favorite corners in the draft. I've really come around on him. Just looking at my board now. Corner, I have Trey Amos as my 4th rated corner, just behind Jahade Barron, right up there with Azare Thomas and Siobhan Ravel. So I've had the Bills taking Maxwell Harrison here. I think corner is a really big need for the Buffalo Bills. You Bills fans over there in Bills Mafia can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know what you guys think about Trey Amos, the corner there. Kansas City does a need at the offensive line. This is a great pick. Donovan Jackson, the offensive line. I think he's going to play guard, but he can play tackle. He offers that versatility. I really like him a lot. He's in the upper echelon of my guard rankings. I think I have him ranked 2 behind Gray Zabel. You move him to center, if that's where you think he's going to be, then Donovan will be my number 1. I think Kansas City really is going to be looking at getting the value here at the offensive line. If the Lions picked him, as you guys know, I'm a Lions fan. I would be happy with Donovan Jackson here in the first round as well. Pick 32. Colston Loveland falls all the way down, and of course, Philadelphia would pick up the best player available. I know it's not a University of Georgia standout there, but I have Colston Loveland as a true first-round graded tight end. I would be really surprised to see him fall this far. Then again, what is going to happen with this draft? It's just all over the board. With Philadelphia going with pick 32 to round out the first round. I'll breeze through here, with the second round. I'm not going to, comment as much. We'll just kind of breeze through who we had here at the second round. We had Cleveland. Remember, they took Abdul Carter. Great spot here. I think someone's going to trade up for Jackson Dart. I just do. With all these QB desperate teams in the draft, I think Jackson Dart doesn't make it to round 2. All right, next up, you got the Giants, Tyleik Williams. They do have a little sneaky need on the interior. Great run defender. Matthew Golden slipping out of the first round, going to Tennessee. Maxwell Harrison to Jacksonville helps out with their secondary. That's a really good pick there as well for Jacksonville. They went with, who did they go with in the first round here? They didn't go with me. They went with the offensive lineman, right? They went with Will Campbell. Yeah, that's right. Will Campbell, solidifying their offensive line passing on Mason Graham. Interesting little tidbit there, Jeff. So I love following you on Twitter and checking you out and getting your thoughts on stuff because you're really tapped in there. I love Mason Graham. I think he's a blue chip player. Las Vegas getting some cornerback room. Brendan Morrison is a absolute beast. It's all going to depend. We're going to find out come draft day what the NFL views the injury concern at that hip with Brendan Morrison. He is just a sick man cover corner. Patriots getting Donovan Ezeraku. So now they pair that with Travis Hunter. They're really getting their defense. No help for Drake May in this draft. Chicago landing Landon Jackson. They got Mason Graham. I'm not a big fan of Landon Jackson. I have him way farther down my edge board. I see why the NFL would be all over him. He did test like an athletic freak, but like Shamar Stewart, both tested like athletic freaks. Both of them didn't necessarily have the production. Thing is, I saw more from Shamar Stewart in his game than I did from Landon Jackson. I don't see the athleticism play out on the field at all. I know he had in his biggest games Arkansas had this year. He did play very well against players like Will Campbell type in the SEC. So there's a lot of potential there. He's going to come in and become probably a solid run defender for you, but he's got the perfect length for the position, and he's got the athleticism. Just going to hopefully he can develop. If I'm a Lions fan, hopefully he doesn't develop if he goes to Chicago. But Landon Jackson there, Gray Zabel to the Saints. They need all the help they can get pretty much everywhere on their roster. He's a guy I could see go in the first round. In Chicago, man, if this is their draft, they're just absolutely eating. They don't get Genty, but they get a Jahmyr Gibbs type player that Ben Johnson can have some fun with. They helped out their defense. Let's hope this doesn't happen in real life, right? Harold Fannin to the Jets, and they don't take Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland in the first round. They get an offensive weapon. He's really just going to be a good receiving tight end in the NFL. Tyler Booker, they need help really desperately. They need help. I think it's in one of their guard spots. I think it's left guard. They need some help with Tyler Booker. It just depends on what your perspective, what you want for your guard. I could see some teams not having him on their draft boards at all, or I could see teams are going to have him high on their draft boards. He's just a mean offensive lineman, and he's not athletic at all. He's an old school guy. And then we got pick 44, Dallas, Jalen Milroe. That is interesting. Okay, there's a shocker for you. Do you really see Dallas getting a quarterback? All right, Jeff. That's another head scratcher there. The first one was a Mecca. That's a head scratcher there. Playing that out of my head. You got Dak on that contract. That's a surprise there. I don't know if I see that one. Cowboy fans, let me know what you think on that one. Jalen Milroe being a second round pick to the Dallas Cowboys to pair with their first round pick here. We'll scroll up here. Who did they get in the first round? Freshman. Oh yeah, Will Johnson. Interesting. So Jalen Milroe, the Cowboys picking a quarterback here. I would think if you're going to pick someone in the second round, you're looking at maybe a running back there. Indianapolis, not as high in JT. They do need some help on that defense. I could see more in the cornerback room. They did pick up the tight end in the first round. Getting an offensive lineman there, Wyatt Milam, wrestler, going to be a guard. He was a tackle at West Virginia. Arizona, helping out that secondary there with Azare Thomas. Kevin Winston Jr. Man, if this guy wouldn't have gotten hurt, I think I have him as a second round grade. Uh, if teams are really comfortable with his injury there, that he probably could have gone higher if he wouldn't have gotten hurt. That's really good value potential with the Miami Dolphins. It is a risk with that injury concern there. They do need safety. Cincinnati, Ursary. The tackle class just gets really weak quickly. There is not a lot of depth. Um, in this tackle class. If I look at my draft board and I go over, I know you guys can't see it, but my offensive tackle class, man, after Ursary, it's not pretty, right? If you guys like Cameron Williams, he's going to be a boomer bust guy. He's going to need some help. You got Anthony Belton, Ozzy Taprillo. Not after Ursary, it is a steep fall. So if you need a tackle, after the top five, it's not looking good for you to get someone you think can maybe fill in right away. Most are going to be developmental guys. Sabaina, Seattle, there's their interior offensive lineman. This guy who played tackle. Walter Nolan, good. That's a good pickup. I think Denver kind of has some sneaky needs in the long term along their defensive line. Seattle picks up another one. So this is good value for Seattle, right? They go in the first round. They don't take the offensive tackle. And at pick 18, they get the edge rusher in James Pierce, right? And then they come back and they nab two offensive linemen, which is a desperate need here. Where'd it go? Come on. There we go. All right. So Seattle getting the interior offensive lineman and the offensive tackle. Great value there. That's how you play the game. And John Schneider is one of the best at it. Tampa Bay getting Prince Umielen. I like him a lot. Really productive college play. They need to get some pass rush, some serious pass rush. You get Jihad Campbell, can blitz, who can play a little bit in coverage, can play the middle, and then get Prince Umielen. They just need to be able to not have to blitz so much in Tampa Bay, getting some pressure. Like Ehrlich, for the wide receiver there, I can't ever pronounce his name. A.O. Maynor, I believe, wide receiver Stanford. Great blocker, great size. He can possibly develop into an X receiver. That's a good pick for Green Bay, something they're missing. That would be interesting. I don't know what to do with Savion Williams. His tape is all over the place. He's not very technically sound, but the dude, he does just make plays. Early for me, I wonder what the NFL will have and how they feel about Savion Williams. The Chargers need wide receiver help. Buffalo Bills, again, addressing their secondary. They really need some help in the secondary. Carolina, Jaden Ivey, really good edge setting, run setting, sets the edge there with Ole Miss. Marcus Mebao, he played tackle. He's going to be a guard, so Houston does address their offensive line there. Perfect. There you go. There's Baltimore. That's a Baltimore Ravens type pick. They're the lengthy, possibly a guy maybe play some man coverage. His game in college was more zone heavy, so I don't know if that's going to be indicative of his NFL career. He didn't play a lot of man. Detroit, there's our edge rusher that we need. I like Brady Swinson. The more and more I got to look at him, read about him, he was a guy that kind of really moved up my draft boards. If I look at my draft board right now, go to edge rushers, I have him right there in my top 10. I have him ahead of Nick Scorton. I have him ahead of Michael Williams, behind James Pierce and Ezeraku and Princely Umielen. So I like him. I think he would fit very well for what the Lions need. Commanders, Darius Alexander. That's another guy. I'm really high on Darius Alexander. I know he's 25 years old, but I think the team's going to get somebody who can have a Braden Fisk type impact. So say the Lions there at pick 60 went with a different position, went with the edge rusher in the first round or guard, maybe come back with the Darius Alexander. But that's a good pick for Washington. Emory Jones out of LSU, not as high on Emory there. Pick 63. Ooh, that is really early for one of my sleepers and one of my guys. I have him as a late third round his third round grade, I see him if the team wanted to take a flyer on him in day 3. That's what I could see happening. He has raw potential. Femi Oladipo, that is high for what I think. Maybe the NFL values him a lot higher, but he's one of my sleepers of this draft. A linebacker who moved over to the edge. Remember, UCLA lost a lot of players, lots out, the Murphy twins. Then Oladipo moved from linebacker to edge, first season in edge. He's got the length and a lot of skill there. I kind of compare him to the rawness of what people saw last year with Jalix Hunt, who ended up going to the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's a great pick there at pick 63 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then another one of my guys in this draft, Tate Ratledge, much higher on him than the consensus. Goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and that rounds out our mocking the mock. What are your guys' thoughts? Leave them in the comments. Maybe check out Jeff Risdon on Twitter and Blue Sky and the Detroit Lions podcast. What are your most shocking picks there? What are the picks that you do like, don't like? I think obviously the most shocking is Emeka Egbuka and Jalen Milroe going to the Dallas Cowboys. Kind of the two most shocking. Mason Graham falling. I think a team's going to trade up for Jackson Dart. I think he goes in the first round, but Jeff didn't do trades in this scenario. So that was a fun little exercise. I haven't really done much of that, of looking at other people's mock drafts and giving a live reaction to them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget, like this channel, subscribe to the Draft Beer podcast, and share this with all your friends. Until next time, have a great night, everybody.
The Draft Beer Podcast.